stop it, Max. Okay? I'm gonna stop the fight. Max, I'm gonna stop it. Max, you're getting hit too much. You're getting hit too much, Max.
Boxing is a sport filled with passion, skill, and determination, but beneath the excitement and glory, it's also a sport with inherent risks. Over the years, several boxers have tragically lost their lives either during or shortly after fights. Today, we'll explore some of these stories, examining the circumstances and impact, while also discussing how these tragedies have shaped the sport's approach to safety. Throughout history, boxing has been a source of entertainment, culture, and athleticism, but like all combat sports, it comes with severe dangers. According to studies, boxers risk brain injuries, concussions, and even death. While rare, the instances where boxers die from injuries sustained during a fight are a sobering reminder of the sport's risks.
Mad Max.
Maxim Dadashev, 2019. In recent years, the tragic death of Russian boxer Maxim Dadashev in 2019 shook the boxing world.
Well, you know, you can see he was starting to get hit more and more each round. We had no chance of winning.
Dadashev, an up-and-coming star, was facing Subriel Matias in an IBF light welterweight title eliminator. The fight was grueling, with Matias landing blow after blow on Dadashev. By the end of the 11th round, Dadashev's trainer, Buddy McGirt, made the heart-wrenching decision to stop the fight, throwing in the towel to protect his fighter. But it was too late. Dadashev collapsed as he left the ring and was rushed to the hospital. He underwent emergency brain surgery, but died from his injuries a few days later. Dadashev's death reignited discussions about the role of trainers and cornermen in protecting fighters. McGirt, devastated by the loss, expressed regret that he hadn't stopped the fight earlier. This tragedy reinforced the importance of immediate intervention when a fighter shows signs of serious distress in the ring. Patrick Day, 2019. Just months after Dadashev's death, another tragedy occurred when American boxer Patrick Day fought Charles Conwell in October 2019. Day, a talented fighter with a promising future, was knocked out in the 10th round after a grueling fight. He was immediately rushed to the hospital, where he underwent emergency surgery for a traumatic brain injury. Despite doctors' efforts, Patrick Day passed away 4 days later. His death was a harsh reminder of the dangers boxers face every time they step into the ring. Conwell, who was deeply affected by the tragedy, expressed profound grief and even questioned whether he should continue boxing. Day's death once again brought attention to fighter safety and raised questions about whether the sport was doing enough to protect its athletes. Many called for stricter regulations, better medical oversight, and more rigorous training on concussion protocols. Jimmy Garcia, 1995. Another heartbreaking case came in 1995 when Colombian boxer Jimmy Garcia fought Gabriel Ruelas for the UBC super featherweight title in Las Vegas. The match was a brutal contest, with Ruelas dominating Garcia for most of the fight. Garcia, known for his resilience, continued to fight back despite the punishment he was taking. By the end of the 11th round, it was clear Garcia was in trouble. He collapsed in his corner after the fight ended and was rushed to the hospital. Doctors discovered he had suffered a traumatic brain injury, and despite their best efforts, Garcia passed away 2 days later. Garcia's death raised further questions about the nature of boxing and whether fighters were being adequately protected. Ruelas, deeply affected by the tragedy, considered leaving boxing entirely. Once again, the event led to increased scrutiny of medical protocols in the sport. The boxing world began to focus even more on fighter health, introducing more stringent medical examinations and post-fight monitoring. Frankie Campbell, 1930. One of the earliest cases of a boxer losing his life in the ring happened in 1930 when Frankie Campbell faced Max Baer in a highly anticipated bout in San Francisco. Campbell, a rising star with a promising career ahead of him, had no idea that this fight would be his last. During the match, Max Baer delivered a series of crushing blows to Campbell's head. After a particularly vicious exchange, Campbell's body went limp and he collapsed. The crowd initially thought it was just a knockdown, but Campbell's condition was far worse. He suffered a traumatic brain injury, and despite being rushed to the hospital, he passed away the next day. This incident sent shockwaves through the boxing world. For Baer, it was a life-changing event. Though he continued to box, the weight of having unintentionally caused another fighter's death stayed with him for the rest of his life. This tragedy also led to the first serious discussions about safety protocols in boxing, though the sport was slow to change.
Right against the ropes, almost helpless. A minute to go.
Benny Kid Parrott, 1962. In 1962, the death of Benny Kid Parrott during a fight against Emil Griffith horrified the public and reignited debates about the violence of boxing. The two had fought twice before, with each winning one bout. Their third match was highly anticipated, but no one could have predicted how devastating it would be. The fight, held at Madison Square Garden and broadcast live on national television, was a brutal affair. In the 12th round, Griffith cornered Parrott and unleashed a flurry of punches. Over 25 blows landed within a few seconds. Parrott slumped against the ropes, unconscious, but the referee did not stop the fight immediately. It was only after Parrott was no longer responsive that the bout was called off. Parrott was taken to the hospital in a coma and died 10 days later. The public outcry was immediate. Many viewers, having watched the tragedy unfold live on TV, were shocked by the violent nature of the sport and the lack of immediate intervention. Critics condemned the referee for not stopping the fight sooner. This tragic event led to a significant increase in the scrutiny of how matches were officiated and whether referees were adequately trained to stop fights in time to protect fighters.
World champion Ray Boom Boom Mancini. And he scored his
Duk-Koo Kim, 1982. In 1982, a tragedy unfolded that would change the rules of boxing forever. South Korean boxer Duk-Koo Kim faced off against American Ray Boom Boom Mancini in a highly publicized bout in Las Vegas. Both fighters were known for their toughness, and the match was expected to be a brutal contest of wills, but no one could have imagined the price that would be paid. The fight was a grueling one. By the 14th round, both men were exhausted, but Mancini found the strength to unleash a series of devastating punches. Kim collapsed in the ring and was immediately rushed to the hospital, where he underwent emergency brain surgery. Unfortunately, he slipped into a coma and died 4 days later from his injuries. Kim's death devastated the boxing community. The emotional toll was immense, not just for his family, but for Mancini as well. Kim's mother, overwhelmed by grief, took her own life 3 months later. The referee, Richard Green, haunted by the events of that day, also died by suicide a year later. The ripple effects of this tragedy were wide-reaching and profound. Following Kim's death, the World Boxing Council (WBC) took decisive action. One of the most significant changes was the reduction of championship fights from 15 rounds to 12 rounds, a rule that remains in place today. The intention behind this was to limit the physical toll on fighters and reduce the likelihood of exhaustion leading to serious injury. This tragedy also spurred greater attention to fighter health, with stricter medical pre-screenings and post-fight evaluations becoming mandatory. The stories of these boxers serve as a sobering reminder of the dangers that fighters face, and they underscore the importance of continued reform and vigilance in ensuring that every fighter has the chance to leave the ring safely.